Life under constant emotional abuse. This is a topic that I haven't really discussed before because it's one of those things that I don't really like to talk about, and it's part of my situation that I don't spend a lot of time reminiscing about. But I think it's something that it's important to go over, and it's important for people to realize. It's something that I think you might be going through, and this might strike a chord with you, and maybe it might help you to understand what's going on and give you some hope to move forward. Okay, so the first part about this is, how does it feel, right? How do you feel when you're living in a situation where you're constantly under covert narcissistic abuse? Well, the first thing is, it feels overwhelming. It's very oppressive, and you don't really know where it's coming from. You know, you feel like you're always wrong no matter what you do. It's not good enough, that things just aren't adding up, that no matter, what you do, it doesn't seem to break through. It doesn't seem to fix the situation. The other thing on this is, you can feel like you're constantly beat down. You're constantly run down. You're depressed and confused, and you don't really know which end is up. Now, the other part of this is, whenever you're going through this, when I say living under constant emotional abuse, it's generally not constant as in like every day it's oppressive. It can feel oppressive, but it's intertwined with moments of, or the appearance of things being okay. See, one of the things is, your ex knows how to read you. They know what you're looking for. And as this progresses, you are so drawn to something being positive that even the slightest breadcrumb of positive attention or positive affirmation from them is going to make you think that everything's okay. You will take all of the situations that feel wrong, that feel like that don't make sense, and you'll negate those, and you'll focus on that, thinking, one, that everything isn't really as bad as it is, and the second part of it is you feel like you are the problem. You feel like, wow, I'm so lucky to be with this person, and I wish I could be as good as they are, and you don't realize what's really going on. Okay, so here's the stark reality of this, is whenever you're in that state, when you're in that time, when you're in the middle of it, it's a very dangerous time. It's the hardest time that you are going to go through, because more than likely you're going to be at your lowest. You're going to feel like you're a failure with everything that you're doing. All the constant subtle put downs and just the undermining of everything you're trying to do is going to make you feel like you're a failure, like that you just can't do it, that you're not worthy, that you're just not good enough. The problem with that, and a lot of people have been talking, or a few people have mentioned this in the comments section the last few weeks, is they've had family members who have committed suicide because of this. The abuse and the oppression was so much that they felt that there was no way out other than to do that. And the reason that happens, in my opinion, is because the target doesn't realize that it's external. They are taking all of that on. You are taking all that on yourself. So you're taking responsibility for everything that's not working right. And when you're in this mode, when you're in this time where you're just overwhelmed, you can make really destructive decisions. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to commit suicide, but you can start making decisions that impact your employment, impact your your sanity. You could start drinking and get in trouble with the law. You can react negatively, lash out to other people. This is a really difficult time because you're trying to process it. Your brain can't figure it out, and you're trying to figure out what's going on and how to get out of it. So you have to be really careful on not making destructive decisions. Okay, so the question is really what can you do about this? If you're in the middle of this, if you're watching this video right now and you're going, holy cow, yeah, that's exactly the way I felt, you have to realize that it's a temporary situation. Now, I went through a lot of what I was just talking about, okay? There was a period of time, probably about 5 years before the relationship really degraded and I basically left, where I felt so down and I felt so stressed that I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to go on. The problem with that is I was so focused on what was happening in that moment that it was really hard for me to see the future. It was really hard for me to see a future. Back then, I was so stressed, so frustrated, so just worn down that I was anxious of the future. I was anxious, tomorrow scared me, okay? I've talked about this a little bit, in the recent videos, or since I've made this channel, I've talked about how I look forward to tomorrow. I'm not scared of the future anymore because I'm excited about what the opportunities and what could happen. Back then, that wasn't the case. Back then, I thought I was, I guess in retrospect, I thought I was living in a house of cards that had the potential to fall apart at any moment, which technically was true. So I was constantly anxious about what was going to happen next. I was, how things were going to play out. So again, like I said at the beginning of this is that you have to realize that it's a temporary situation. You have to give yourself the hope for the opportunity to get happiness. I remember at one point when I finally got to the point where I was ready to leave, that was basically my gamble. It was, okay, this sucks, this doesn't feel good, but I deserve the opportunity to be happy. And I have to at least try. I have to at least make that step to see if things can get better because, at that point did I think that things could get worse? I wasn't sure. There was a risk. There was a part of me in the back of my mind that thought that this would be the worst decision that I ever made, that things would just be horrible and that I wouldn't be able to get through it and progress past it, that I would destroy the relationship and that I would regret it. And you may be having that same conversation with yourself. You may be unsure of, is it really that bad? At least maybe I have somebody. At least he or she is there. At least I have a home. At least I have this. At least I have that. Guys, when you are going through that and you're making those deals with yourself, that's part of the process that's driving you crazy. So when you're trying to figure out what you can do with this, the first thing is don't make rash decisions. Now, and what I just said could sound like, leaving sounds like a rash decision. No, you slowly and methodically, outline your pros and cons, look at your risks and the risk mitigation techniques, if you want to call it that. What is your best course of action going forward, right? So, what I mean by rash decisions is don't do something silly like, get a DUI or get into a fight or go off on your boss or do something to where it threatens your employment. You need to make reasonable decisions, not emotional decisions. I know I talk about that a lot, but that's really critical when you're trying to figure out what to do on this. The next thing is you have to take steps to change your environment. You have to decide that you don't like the situation you're in, that you don't want to live that way anymore, and take steps to make a difference, to try to make things different. Now, for the most of us, that's going to be doing things at home to try to fix the situation. That's going to be either making a change in your physical environment to where you clean up the house, or you start taking more pride in what's going on at the house, or you go to marriage counseling to try to work on the relationship. You're doing those steps to try to fix the situation. Now, ultimately, after you spent some time trying to do that, the right decision for you may be, and probably ultimately will be, to get out of the relationship, to get away, to escape from this toxic environment. When you're in that, when you are under that constant state of chaos, it's really hard to see clearly what's going on, right? It's really tough, and you probably can understand that. You can probably relate to that. And you can take simple steps by learning about narcissistic abuse and these personality disorders and what techniques you can do. There's been a bunch of different videos. We've already talked about that. But you can start making little decisions to improve your environment. And ultimately, if you ultimately determine that you are dealing in this covert narcissistic situation, the best solution is to get away when you can. Now, that doesn't mean you need to run away today, but you need to start preparing your situation or preparing yourself for that inevitability. But I think the catch on this is that whenever you're going through this, you have to get to the point that you understand what your reality is, right? We have to take those steps to try to change the environment internally until we prove to ourselves what we're dealing with, to where we can actually take a step back and say, okay, these are my options. This is what I need to do. The thing is, living under constant emotional abuse is a very seriously damaging situation. It's not minor. It's really serious because it's pervasive and it doesn't stop. But I hope that with the topics that I discuss in this video, you can see how it manifests itself, how it looks, how it's impacting you, to be able to help you recognize it, realize that it's temporary, that it's not, that doesn't define your life going forward for the rest of your life. You can make a change and you can get out of it. You already know that it's going to take a long time to do it. But I wanted to talk about this because, like I said, it's something I don't talk about a lot. And I think it's really important because when you're in the midst of that, before you get to the point to really recognize it, it is a really damaging situation. So if you guys want to talk about or add into the discussion how you identified your emotional abuse and how it finally just popped out and you recognize it, add it in the comments below. If you want to talk a little bit about what you've been able to do to calm yourself down, to try to get out of that just overwhelmed depressive mode, add that, because that could be really helpful for people. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like the channel, please subscribe, and I will chat with you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.